Hey, Shalom, here we are. Back to I feel this is a special day when we do the readings from Chetuvim. Usually we select a psalm or a proverb, something like this, a mashal. And now we are doing Kohelet, the book of Kohelet, which I just think is a wonderful book. And from the wisdom literature books, it's probably the easiest one to read. From if you took like the lump of Psalms and you took Job and Proverbs and Kohelet, I think Kohelet's probably the easiest of the batch. But it's got some difficulties and definitely some wisdom. And it's not that long of a book, so hey, let's keep going through it. אבינו מלכנו כן יהי רצון כי כל יחיה טוב בעיניך עכשיו. אני רוצה כי כל תלמודי יהיו לכם את רוחך אדוני, וגם את מבינה ממך אדוני, וגם את בנך וגם את חוכמתך אדוני. בכל הדברים האלה אנחנו נברכך בזכות ישוע המשיח. Okay, so here's where we left off last time. If you remember, we ended with verse Hey, that's 5. Right? Now we will continue with verse Vav, that's 6. Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, number 6, or just 6. All right. Holeikh el darom. So the holeikh, this is to walk. We can like this way, walk, or just generally, like in English, more generic, goes, right? So it goes el unto darom. Darom is a very interesting word. It's one of the words for south in Hebrew. Like we can talk about the Negev or Negba, like meaning towards the Negev, meaning south. But you can also talk about darom. Darom is the hot southern wind. It comes up from the desert area, right? And it's like a hot wind that sometimes they experience coming up to the rest of Israel, bringing that heat with it. So what I find fascinating about darom, especially when you find it in prophetical neumim, prophetical utterances, in neum, is that it's kind of not an absolutely fixed direction, if you think about it. When you understand the original meaning, right? That it's the direction of the hot southern wind, like where it's coming from. And I just noticed we've got zafon over here, which is another interesting kind of pseudo relative thing. We'll get to when we get there. So, holech el darom, which makes sense too. We're talking about, you're going to see, ha-ruach, the wind. So these are it's a very apropos word to be using with wind. So, holech el darom. It goes to the south, right? But more literally, the direction of the southern hot wind. The soveiv, and soveiv, we've had this word in the words of the day, soveiv, it goes around. El unto Tzafon, the north. But what's nice about Tzafon, it also it's kind of pegged to the region of Tzafon. Hararei Tzafon, the mountain range of Tzafon, right? This is, according to Dr. Michael Heiser, this is where the Nephilim came down in that region, right? I'm sorry, that's similar, same similar. It was a region that was considered holy by the worshippers of the Nephilim, by those who worshipped also Victor Baal and all those guys, right? And there's a lot of prophecies that seem to, well, not a lot, but there's some prophecies that mention Tzafon as a place where evil has come from, right? And so you get these prophecies that talk about evil is going to come from the north. And I think because it's been flattened in English, sometimes we miss a possibility of the prophecy that it could be talking about it's going to come from that region of Tzafon, Mount Tzafon, where Baal Tzapis, the princes of Baal, or Baal the prince, etc., all these false deities associated with them in a holy place for the worshippers. And so, like, if you're living in the Negev, then sure, Tzafon is to the north, right? But as you come up and up and up and up, well, now it might be to your east, if you're talking about the literal source of the direction for that word for north. So there's all these people that are so certain that the Russians are going to come down, because if you look north of Israel, it's Russia. Maybe. But because they're reading the scriptures in a flattened form, and I consider English or any translation to be flattened form of the scripture, right? You're missing that wealth. You're missing that richness that we get with reading. It's not just it's not just saying south and north. It's saying it goes the direction of the southward hot wind. And it goes around up towards Safon, right? That's a region. It's a region. I don't know. I didn't look at any of the translations. I'd be interested to know, maybe in the comments, if you're looking at a translation, does it say north or does it actually mention Tzafon, the region of Tzafon? Continuing on. Saviv, soveiv. Around, it goes around in circles. Holeikh, continuing, literally going. So we have kind of a nice mini inclusio here. We have holeikh, we have holeikh, again, kind of sandwiching all that stuff in between. So holeikh el darom, the soveiv el zafon. Soveiv, soveiv, holeikh. So here the holeikh is probably continuous. Holeikh is one of those words that when you use it with another verb of motion, it sometimes has the advanced nuance of continuing, right? So you could say like holeikh shuv, right? Holeikh yashuv. He continued returning, right? He continued returning, continued bringing back, right? We wouldn't really say he walked bringing back, but the idea is it gives this kind of continuation to it, right? So holeikh has that special nuance that you'll see sometimes. And now for the subject, the star of the show, and I know I haven't written any up here yet, but let's just be like this for a bit. Ha-ruach, ha-ruach, the wind. Ve'al savivotav shav ha-ruach. Ve'al, and upon savivotav, it's, I would say circumference is what it feels like to me. It's going around. Shav ha-ruach, the wind returns. And this is a very interesting example of a perfect being used in an imperfect way, right? I don't think this should be translated, it returned. It really feels to me like it returns. And I bet if we checked out the Septuagint, we're going to see in the Jewish Greek some rendering that is more like a present here or even a future, right? In imperfect, probably. That's my guess. All right, so let's mark up some of the stuff now. We attack the verse nicely. So holeikh is actually an active participle. If you care about that grammatical term. Okay, hold on. All right, it's a participle. And we're going to see another participle here and here and here, effectively, and here. Although this might not technically be a participle, but it's a noun that is descended from participles. Once lived among them. Just meaning around, right? We've learned this around. Doesn't have to mean like it's going around or something. So maybe I'll delete this one. Oops, sorry. Something happened on my tab here. I held the button down too long. Okay. Ha-ruach, the wind. And you'll notice here, because the reish cannot take a dagesh, it can't accept the dot, we've come down and we've lengthened the patach to kamatz. So compensatory lengthening there, yeah? Okay. Ve'al, and upon savivotai, it's going around, it's circlings, right? Saviv, ot, plural, it's circlings. The ot makes it feminine plural. Kind of hard to see, isn't it? It feels a little funny to me, drawing and not talking, so. Shav, it returns. So the word is shuv. Shin, vav, beit. And since it's a hollow verb, meaning a verb that has the vav in the middle or the yod in the middle, it often disappears. And that's what has happened here. We're left just with the first one, just the shin, and just the beit, right? ha-ruach, the wind. Okay. Any comments or questions? Oh, I don't have a drink. All right, so if you're going to take notes, you better, because I'm going to expand now to include another verse. And when I do that, I think makom here might get wiped out. I mean, I think it's going to be in the way, and I can't delete just that item. I have to delete all of it. So, all right, so you might want to get your picture going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, yep, we have some things that are blocking, so I'm going to need to delete now. Oops. Yeah, sorry, I had to wipe out the annotations. Okay, so verse 7. Let's continue. Kol hanchalim holekhim el hayam. The hayam einenu malei. So kol, that's all, and here we have a construct of the נחלים. These are streams, all the streams. A nachal is a stream. So nachal, and then when you make it plural, nechalim, what you have there is there would have been a kamatz here. And then because we move the accent when we add something, like, excuse me, when we move the im there, we add the im, the pre-tonic kamatz became a schwa. So that's nechalim, rivers, ha-nechalim, the rivers. So kol ha-nechalim, all of the rivers. Seems a river runs through it. Okay. Okay. So the hay makes rivers definite. So that definiteness will be imparted to the whole phrase. So you could say the all of the rivers, but that just doesn't sound right in English. So that's when you drop the and you can drop the ofs that way as well, right? Of. Makef is a dead giveaway of an of. That's that hyphen looking thing there. All right. Holekhim, again that word. Holeikh, holeikh, or holeikh, to walk or to go. Holekhim is an active plural participle. So all of the waterways, holekhim, they go. Flow might even be appropriate in your translation, right? You know, they go. Don't say they walk. They go unto hayam. So they flow into hayam. Okay. the yam. Let's see. The hayam but remember, vav, you have to be flexible with vav. So you might say and. I'm going to see but because I saw the einenu coming next. But the C, einenu. Ein means there are not. It's like a plural. Well, it could be, it doesn't have to be plural, but is not, are not. It works either way, right? So like ein li kesef. I don't have silver. I don't have gold, but what I do have, you may freely receive. So ein means is or are not. Are not. By the way, I hope everyone's okay with the volume. Every once in a while, I hear from someone, usually in a comment, like who listened to the teaching afterwards, that it's too quiet, they can't hear. And I've come across YouTube videos like that too. Sometimes for some reason it's quieter than other ones. So, starting today, I'm exporting all my video at 200%. So you should be able to make it loud enough. For those of you it's too loud, just turn it down. Hopefully that will handle everybody. If you're finding it's too quiet on your device and you usually listen to other videos and it's not a problem, then please let me know. If it's always quiet on your device, then please don't complain to me about that. Put in some headphones for crying out loud. Do yourself a favor. Okay, the new at the end. This is he or it, we'll say. I know we're used to that. It can also be us, right, or ours. But existing as a suffix like this here, it's so it is not einenu. It is not malei. Malei, if you say this, if you're accustomed to the shadul, then you'll recognize this as full, right? Like we say that God is malei chesed ve'emet. He is full of grace and truth, right? Or grace and fidelity. Or hendiatically, chesed ve'emet, perpetual grace, is one of those meanings in contexts. El mekom, shehanchalim holekhim. El, unto. And then notice this is makom. We don't have a nice makef, a nice hyphen like we had up there. But I can still tell its construct. Why? Looky here. This vowel gives it away, right? So if you remember from our word of the days, I gave you the word makom, maybe around 9 months ago or so. And makom, what's that mean? Makom means a place, like a location, right? It's also a divine epithet. If we're talking about God, we call him makom or hamakom, meaning the ever-present one. And there's many titles that we use for Hashem when we are praying. If we're desiring justice, we'll refer to him as Elohim, right? Or Elohim when you're praying. If we desire mercy, oftentimes Adonai. And if you want to feel his presence, you want to be close to him, it's Hamakom, the ever present one, literally the place, right? The place where my spirit wants to be. So what's interesting about it here is you'll notice we have, here I have it in magenta, we have a kamatz. That's what the capital T letter is called. The marker, the diacritic is a kamatz, and it comes just before the accent sign, the accented syllable. So that means this is a pre-tonic kamatz. And if you remember, I explained maybe a couple weeks ago, when you have the situation and the kamatz moves by putting something on the end of the word, like a suffix, or perhaps making it a plural, then that pre-tonic kamatz will change into a vocal schwa. And that, my friends, is what has happened here. Because our accent moved to the next word. The accent has shifted. We have an accent shift happening from a pre-tonic kamatz. Remember, in the construct state, in ancient times, those words that were in construct were read through very rapidly, as if it's one compound word, right? The example I always like to share that I came up with a long time ago is house and boat, two words. But you can make a compound word, houseboat, in English. But you'll note only one accent. We don't say house, boat. Do you live on a houseboat? I guess some people might, depending on your region. We say houseboat, one accent. English likes to have the accent at the front of the word, usually, not always, right? Hebrew likes to have it at the end, usually, not always. So instead of makom shehanchalim, we say mekom shehanachlim. See, not quite so fast anymore when we read it. Even the Baal Koreh reading from the Sefer in the synagogue, he won't combine it like that, but it used to be. So there is some reasoning to these vowel changes that we see. And also, it's helpful if you know that pre-tonic kamatz becomes a schwa. Then, when I saw, like with me, when I saw makom here, you know, I saw hey, oh, okay, it's usually makom, but here makom has become makom. Now I know it's place of. It's the construct. So let's label it. There we go. It's a construct chain. See? So, sorry, I had to have a drink. So it's makom, the place of she. Now, she we saw the other day. This is not in Torah Hebrew. She is a, trying to pick what color. It's a short form. Hmm. Better. She is short for asher. The relative pronoun asher, which usually means who or which, but it can take on other meanings too, like where or when, even more rarely, but it does happen. So, and surprisingly, it can interject itself in the middle of a construct change. So here we go. The reason it's the place is because of the ha. So he's being himself, has the patach, the flat vowel under, and the dagesh just after. So ha-נחלים. So a nachal is a stream or a wadi. I've mentioned many times wadi. Wadi is usually what comes to mind, but I think here we're talking about flowing and stuff. So it's when the wadi's flowing, right? Not when it's dry. Clearly, that kohelet is talking about. And then im, that's the plural ending. Masculine plural, im. So nechalim, again, that was nachal, and it became nechalim. See, same thing happening with pre-tonic kamatz became a vocal schwa. We had nachal became nechalim, wadis or streams. So mekom sheha nechalim, the place where the wadis or the streams holekhim go. Sham, there. Haim, they. Shavim, return. Lalakhem, going. So really, it's not going. It's what I mentioned before about halach being able to have this continuous, this feel of continuity. It's quite amazing. Kohelet is discussing the water cycle. The places where they started is where they go back. Basically, is what is being expressed here. Just lovely. I really, really like it. So let's read through that one more time. Actually, let's review what we did. Yeah, the marks are gone. I think I'll save. Oh, I thought I saved one with my earlier marks. Oh well. C'est la vie, no? Okay. Verse 7. Kol hanchalim holekhim el hayam. All of the wadis, all of the waterways go unto the sea. The hayam, but the sea, einenu malei, is never full. El mekom shehanechalim holekhim sham. Unto the place where the waterways go. There, haim shavim lalakhem, they continuously return. See? That's how I would render the sham haim shavim lalakhem. By the way, the shavim, it's again from shuv, and we're missing that middle root letter. The shurik, the vav, is wayward. It would have been here. Okay. Shavim, another active participle, by the way. So it's kind of a stylistic device that Kohelet is using here. He's using participles all around, and unfortunately I lost what I drew on that on the previous one. On verse 6. We had the holeikh el darom, so holeikh participle, the soveiv participle, el zafon soveiv participle, soveiv, although this could be just around, but it's derived from a participle, holeikh participle, ha-ruach, shav ha-ruach. So it goes into the southern wind location, soveiv, and returning el tzafon unto the place of tzafon. Soveiv, going around, sorry, instead of returning, going around, not returns. Going around, soveiv, it's in circles. Holeikh, continuing. Ha-ruach, the wind, ve'al soveiv, and upon its circlings, shav, ha-ruach, the wind returns. Kol hanchalim, all the wadis, all the waterways, holekhim, go el unto We have this hayam, the sea. The hayam einenu malei, but the sea is not full. El makom hanchalim holekhim, unto the place where the waterways go, sham there. Haim shavim lalakhem, they continuously return. Right? Really, natural. It's so funny when people like, we were talking last night in the chat. I don't know if you remember. Gary mentioned LibreOffice, and I think Harrison mentioned Nacho Libre, that movie. And in Nacho Libre, there's this homeless man, very skinny guy called El Esqueleto. And there's this point where they're about to have a fight, right? The main character is about to have a wrestling match, and he says, "Let us pray." And El Esqueleto says, "I do not believe in God. I believe in science." And so it's so funny to me always the people that, even though it's a comedy, that think you can't believe in science and believe in the Bible. Well, have you ever read the Bible? Truly, usually they've never read the Bible. Usually there's some cheap shots that the lazy atheist will take against the Bible. But the thinking atheist will realize the Bible is not, this is not a flat earther's book, right? It's not a book that's going against science, against human knowledge. This is a book for those who understand that, as the Discovery Institute says in one of their videos from, I don't know, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that our Earth is in the perfect place not only for life, the so-called Goldilocks zone, but also the perfect location for discovery. Our galaxy is called the Milky Way because it's so filled with light, right? There's so many star clusters. If our solar system had been in the midst of one of those big clusters, we wouldn't be able to see out so easily into the rest of the universe. It's like Hashem put us in the place where not only is there life, there can be light, but also where there's the possibility to discover. We're not blinded by all of the light pollution from the clusters of stars right around us, but we can see out. We can see Andromeda. We can see out into the great beyond. And indeed, Kohelet, I believe here, is expressing knowledge of the water cycle. You know, the water goes down, it evaporates, comes back, rains, back where it started again. Makom shehanchalim holekhim sham. And then haim shavim lalakhem. They would continuously return there, right? Shavim, return, lalakhem. It's halach, but it's got that idea of continuously. Okay. All right, I think we're at a good stopping point. Are there any comments or questions you guys have for me? As long as there's no internet issue, I will be there tonight. Well, this morning for many of you. I wanted to make sure to get it recorded in case there are internet issues. And also, I like being there with you in the chat, kind of relaxed, watching the video myself, interacting with you guys. It feels a little bit freer to me for some reason. All right. I wish you guys the best. Happy prep day for Shabbat. And I will see you all, B'ezrat Hashem, on our full triennial Torah portion learning coming up in 2 days. Shalom, shalom.